Hey everyone, welcome back to Farmers. I'm Patricia, your trusted farmerpreneur. Today, I want to actually give you guys a little bit of a heads up when it comes to interviews. So if you're interested, stay tuned. If you've applied for jobs, if you're having an interview coming up soon, you're going to want to listen to these tips. As a person who's gone through many interviews myself, and now as a recruiter slash employer, I interview a lot of people. And I've learned a few things along the way that I want to share with you guys, especially if you're a pharmacist, because you guys need to elevate. So let me quickly share with you. By the way, if you don't know, we do have an interview prep session that we offer at Farmers Consulting, but it obviously goes into more depth and it's a personalized approach. So we request your CV and the job applications, adverts that you made, and then we look into it very closely. But because this is a general thing, I'm just going to open it up and give you a little free mini version of what you can look forward to. But basically, interviews are like dating. If you see a job that you like, it's in a company that you like, you apply. And then if they go through your CV and they also like you, they shortlist you. So then begins this kind of flirting type of situation, right? So you're like, "Ooh, I want this job." And then they're like, "Okay, ooh, but why? Tell me, convince me why you are the right candidate for this job." And it's like, okay, look at my CV, look at my motivational letter, look at my credentials. And the job is like, okay, but there's a lot of you guys that have the same qualifications and stuff. So why are you special? And then you really got to bring it. So this is the part a lot of people miss. An interview is like a dance, it's like a tango, but it has both a non-verbal part and a verbal part. So it's communication all the way, but some of it is non-verbal and some of it is verbal. So when I speak to my clients, we divide the session in three. You have the non-verbal part that we discuss, and that's your appearance, your posture, and what message you give off without saying a word. We go into depth with that. Then we come to the verbal communication. What is your tone like? What is your voice saying? Some people will whisper and be all shy, and that shows that you're not exuding confidence. Even in the handshake, when you're greeting and you're presenting yourself, sometimes you'll shake hands, sometimes you won't. But how is your handshake? Is it mushy? Is it firm? Are you giving off a confidence or self-esteem issues? So it's how you speak, how you welcome, how you greet, how you answer questions, and all of that. And then the third part is the technical part, which is sector specific. So if you're going into retail, there's a few things you got to know about retail. And depending on the level of the job, if it's entry level, if it's managerial, then there's also different nuances there. Same with hospital. If you're going into hospital, is it public, is it private, and what the focus there is. And then manufacturing, and that's my favorite part. So I've been in regulatory affairs for a few years now. Manufacturing, production, quality, regulatory affairs is the kind of interview I prefer. But for purposes of giving an example, I'm going to pick a SAHPRA interview because this really was my pivotal moment in my career where I first went to a SAHPRA interview many, many years ago. And I was shortlisted, and then I was like freaking out. Oh my gosh, what am I going to say? What are they looking for? How do I seal the deal? And at the interview, I was really speaking and defending my requests well. they asked me to come for another interview because at the time it was for a screener. But during the interview, I remember um, the head of vet was like, "Hey, girl, you're actually so good. Don't you want to come interview for an evaluator post in 2 weeks?" And I was like, "Hell, I'll be there." And then it was good. So, and after that, I, interviewed for a lot of other positions. But if you've been to a SAHPRA interview, you know how grueling those are, and you know how scary it is. They intimidate you. Usually they sit with a big panel, some outside person who's moderating or making sure things are done fairly. And then you have people from all different units like HR, clinical, quality, names and scheduling, inspectorate, whatever, whatever. And you're like just sitting there, little old you, and you're like, oh my gosh, what do I do? What do I say? So fear not, I'm here to give you some pointers. The first thing you want to do with any interview is to know the company. If you're interviewing with SAHPRA, don't be caught not knowing major obvious points about SAHPRA. They may ask you random questions about board members, the CEO, but it's not that you need to know everything and everyone, but if it's stuff that's like readily available on their website, you didn't do your homework. You need to go on the website of the company that you're interviewing for and start there. Read up about who they are, where they're based, what they do, and how your specific role is going to plug in. And you can also flaunt with that and lead with that. Even if they don't ask you, you need to show that you are knowledgeable. So in conversation, tell us why you're here, tell us about you. That's where you sneak it in. Sneak in their values because on their website, they'll tell you, we value transparency and innovation and this and the other. You have to align with those exact values. You need to say, I'm a pharmacist and I value patient care that's science-based or evidence-based. If you are going into a clinical position or a pharmaceutical quality position, you need to use that to your advantage. So don't think they're asking you just to tell you about them, to tell them about yourself, like what's your favorite color, what school did you go to, where did you grow up? No, they want to hear about your personality, your values, and your objectives and aim. Where are you going with your career? You just applied for this, but why? Are you looking towards something else? Are you passionate about this sector? How do we know? If you were passionate about pharmacy, a lot of people will say, well, I did pharmacy because I just want to help people. But help people how? You could help people and be a teacher. You could help people and be a cop. You could help people and be a nurse, a dentist, a doctor. You could help people and be all kinds of stuff. So why specifically pharmacy? You got to tie it to, well, their mandate is to ensure that medicines that reach the market and that reach people are safe, have efficacy and quality. So you can then say, I've always wanted to help people, specifically when it comes to therapeutics, making sure that they get quality treatments that are efficacious or that have efficacy and that are safe so that they can get better. You see how you've already elevated that phrase? It's not just, I wanted to help people. I just want to help people, but how? In the therapeutics arena. Okay, why are you in regulatory affairs? You could be in retail, you could be in hospital. Okay, well, those are patient facing. Maybe you've done those and now you want to go deeper, go to the source, the regulations, the crossroad where science meets data, meets the law, meets implementation, meets registration of these products, et cetera, et cetera. Make it super compelling as to why you are the right candidate. Remember, it's also, besides it being a dance and a flirtatious thing, quote unquote, just it's not really, but you know what I mean? It's also oh my gosh, I'm scared. What are they going to say? Oh my gosh, we're scared. What are they going to say? As much as you fear your interview, they also fear you as a potential candidate. Let me tell you the truth. As a recruiter, I get scared when I have to hire somebody new for my companies. I don't want you to come mess my business up. I don't want you to come and be a lazy bum and now I have to pay you for you doing nothing. It's super hard to fire somebody. So your hiring process has to be top notch. Nobody wants a non-productive, unproductive, lazy employee that's just gonna take, and finish off the resources without giving back or having a return on investment. So you have to give them that confidence, you know? If you're an employee, tell me why you're the right candidate. And that's where you start thinking, putting yourself in the head or in the headspace or mind of the employer. Like, I'm here for efficiency. I'm not here to waste your resources. I'm here to multiply them. Boom. Oh my gosh. Do you know how luxurious that sounds? Oh my goodness. I'm here to improve efficiency, to make sure that the company thrives, to make sure that the return on my investment is maximized. Oh my goodness, that is music to every employer and recruiter's ears. So use that and tie it into what the job description is going to be. If you are applying to SAHPRA, again, to keep with this example, every project is super time sensitive, especially as an evaluator. You have dossiers coming in, and back then we were working on the backlog project. You can imagine there's 20,000 products that are backlogged for years. Applicants are grumpy, everyone is grumpy, time is a crunch. You want to get the product on the market. Now you can't sit there with the dossier for like 5 months and just chill and take your time. No. So one of the top priorities is time management. I'm here to ensure that the workflow moves at the highest adequate speed possible. Boom. Oh my goodness. Are you kidding me? Yes. I want workflow to move. I want projects to, circulate. I want, and this is as a recruiter, as an employer. So you as an employee have to lead with that. You have to put that on the forefront to be the ideal candidate. So let's say, oh, we actually have an example here I wanted to share with you guys. An example of an advert. So here's an advert. By the way, it was on the SAHPRA website a few weeks ago. But just to use this as an example, and you'll see what I mean in a minute, they literally tell you what they want. And I can't stress enough how many times I've seen CVs that people have used to apply for jobs, and it doesn't even have one little single related thing to the post. I mean, if you're applying for regulatory affairs and you don't even mention regulatory affairs once, like you're not a good match. You're not the preferred match. Doesn't matter if you've done further studies, degrees, short courses. At the moment of application, you have to prove to me that you are the one. So talk about self-study, talk about the website, talk about future prospects. You're looking to register for a short course, for a master's, just to speed up and maybe render your knowledge concise or more intentional. Speak on regulatory affairs things. If you don't know what a dossier is, if you don't know what a regulatory activity is, if you don't know what GMP is, you're not going to be the good candidate. And I see this all the time. People always say, oh, but they want entry level. Oh, but it's grade one. They said no experience, but then I didn't get it. Yeah, no experience doesn't mean no knowledge. No experience doesn't mean no mention. No experience, grade 1, doesn't mean cluelessness. Again, if you're applying for an RA post, a manufacturing post, a quality assurance, quality control, production post, all of the above, you have to use the keywords that are gonna solidify that. I spoke about this in our last webinar. Most recruiters use automated systems, so keywords. If you don't have ECTD on your CV, the computer is not going to pick that up. You're not going to get shortlisted if it's an RA post. If you have systems, policies, SOPs, GMP, whatever, if you don't have any of these keywords, you're just not going to get shortlisted. And again, it doesn't matter if you have the experience or not. If they say it's entry level, they at least want you to show them intention, self-study, that you at least have Googled the damn position. What does a production pharmacist do? Do you know about a batch, how to release a batch? And we all know this. This is again why I'm stressing with pharmacists. Like you know this. It's just that you're not putting it out there. You've done this in fourth year. You've done mini batches. You've made your own paracetamol suspension from second year. You have opened a line, cleared a line, you have cleaned, you have followed an instruction sheet or an SOP. You have done all these things, but you're not mentioning that anywhere. If it's not directly part of your previous job, maybe your internship ComServe, maybe that was in hospital, maybe now you've locumed in retail and it's a brand new position in production. So mention that in a highlight or key points that GMP, manufacturing, small scale preparation, formulation. You made that formulation for your elixir or suspension or whatever it was. You have done this, mention it as a highlight. Fourth year project, final year project, second year project, whatever it was. You have worked in a hospital, maybe they had a manufacturing part, maybe you've reconstituted, you have especially for peds, you've probably adjusted a dose or reformulated dose for the sake of a pediatric treatment. That is manufacturing on a small scale. Mention that. They want to see keywords. They want you to give them hope. I have seen CVs, like I'm saying, that don't even mention anything. It's just retail hospital, retail hospital, retail hospital. Okay, so then why are you here? Like it's so disjointed. You haven't mentioned one thing about manufacturing, about production, about quality, about following a BMR. Do you know what a batch manufacturing record is? It's the instruction for how to make the batch. You haven't mentioned one thing. About checking quality, meeting standards, but you do this every day. So learn to tie things that are seemingly unrelated, but to connect the dots. If you've done it in retail, I'm sure retail has a lot of mixtures, creams, syrups, nose drops, whatever. That is manufacturing. Use that knowledge, transfer it onto your CV to show knowledge. I'll pick a person that has mentioned that kind of experience versus one who has mentioned nothing any day. Okay. Okay, let me stop rambling and quickly go through this job advert example just to show you guys how to tie it in. Okay, so this is an entry-level clinical post-registration medicine registration officer. The requirements, they said a 4-year bachelor, so B-Pharm is fine. Registration with SAPC, good. If you have a relevant master's, that's an advantage, but it's not a compulsory requirement. So this means basically entry level, all pharmacists can apply. Experience, they want a grade 1, which is 0 to 5, but they say here 2 years of clinical experience, post-internship in ComServe. So what's clinical experience? It doesn't mean you were in clinical trials and that's it. Clinical experience is all of what you do in retail and hospital. Bring it out. They want to know about dosages, about APIs, about pharmacological classes. They want to know about kinetics. They want to know about dynamics. They want to know about um, absorption, all the aladmins, if a product, and this is, remember there's pre-reg and post-reg at SAHPRA. So when it's pre-reg, this product has never been on the market. They're still scrutinizing it to see if it's fit for the registration onto the market. So then they're looking at everything from scratch, the clinical trials, the quality tests and studies that were done, everything, right? Clinical phase 3, etc. Module 5 and Module 4. But if it's post-reg, then it's already on the market. So these will be variations. If they're talking about a variation that's clinical, then it's the stuff that are crucial to the quality and the efficacy of the product, mostly the efficacy, right? Anything that tampers with the dosage, the formulation, the API or its classes, and things like that. You are a pharmacist, you already know this, but are you going to say it on your CV? Probably not. You need to connect the dots, guys. You have to mention these things. Don't say I was dispensing. I was reviewing scripts. I was supervising assistants and interns. Nobody cares. That is not relevant to the post at hand. And this brings me back to a thing I always stress every single time I have a client that I'm doing an interview prep for, or even a CV review. Every job application has to be unique. You can't copy paste from a different application or send one CV to multiple applications. That's just suicide, because what you're going to say here about your retail experience is different than what you're going to say here about your retail experience. Here at SAHPRA, your retail experience has to extract all your clinical knowledge. But if it's a production post, now your retail experience has to extract all your compounding and small scale extemporaneous or cream manufacturing or mixtures or suspensions, whatever it is. If you're applying for a quality assurance post, that same retail job has to then speak to standards, to guidelines, to policies, to quality measures, to risk, and all of the things. The same retail experience can highlight 3 different type of sectors. So let's continue. And then they have a grade 2 minimum of 5 years, so that's fine. If you're a grade 2, then that's a different post. All right, so competencies, knowledge and skill, Medicines and Related Substance Act, Pharmacy Acts, and all the related regulations. There are some pharmacists who do not know where to find the Medicines and Related Substance Act or what it speaks to. You should be able to summarize these things in like a sentence. What's the difference between the Pharmacy Act and the Medicines Act? Doom, 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 doom. Doom, 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 doom. Okay, so pharmacy deals with the premise, the people, the professionals, and the practice of pharmacy, while the Medicines and Related Substance Act deals with the substances and the medicines themselves, the scheduling, the naming, the storage, the selling, and also the premises of where they're kept, where they are being distributed to and from, and the licensing and compliance therein. Okay, so you got to know that big picture and then zoom in. Also, they want you to have computer literacy, supervisory skills, good planning, organizational, very key. communication, innovative thinking. Oh, by the way, we also go through the main categories of a job interview to talk about all these kinds of sectors or elements. Usually an interview will have 10 type of elements that they talk about. Let me just actually show you here. This is part of what you get during an interview prep. So there's communication skills. It's usually out of 100. You'll see sometimes they write stuff down after you answer. That's usually like notes and a score so that they can know this candidate answered 8 out of 10. The other one answered 6 out of 10. And so the 8 out of 10 is better. Don't think interviews are biased. Usually they do have an actual scaling system to make sure that it's fair and there's moderators and stuff. So at the end, you want to have the highest score out of all these categories. Communication, interpersonal skills, time management, organizational skills, multitasking, attention to detail, technical proficiency. This is sector specific, problem solving, strategic and critical thinking, project management are usually the kind of elements that they'll break up the questions into, and then you have to answer. So depending on if we're doing an RA type of prep, then we'll do questions related to RA. If we're doing retail, we'll do retail questions. If we're doing a hospital, we'll do hospital questions. And this is basically what it all looks like. But for now, you just need to know that that's what's there. Okay. So back to these sectors. Valid drivers, they want you to be able to drive, collaborative skills, knowledge of quality management systems. Have you ever dealt with it? They said knowledge. They actually didn't say application or management. So you just have to know about it. That means there's a question that's going to pertain to quality management systems, and you have to be able to say, yes, I know about it. I know that quality is the crux of a pharmaceutical company, where it manufactures or where it regulates or where it distributes or whatever. So you can speak about quality management systems without having dealt with them personally. And then when it comes to the duties, this is now the crux of your interview. Every duty that you see here has to feature somewhere in your CV, or at least most of them, not every single one. But you can't have a blank CV that doesn't match anything here and think you're going to get shortlisted. You have to match what they want you to do with something you've done in the past, or at least something you're aware of. Like, for example, QMS, you may not have worked with a QMS, although on a smaller scale. I mean, SOPs and things are part of a QMS for standards, but you've got to extrapolate. Here they speak on reviewing a broad range of applications as primary reviewer or peer reviewer. So you're going to be paired, and then you and somebody are going to peer review something before it goes to your manager or your supervisor or the level 2. And these are for clinical post-reg. So you're reviewing type 1 and type 2 applications, or specifically type 1A and type 1B, because those are the critical ones that deal with clinical stuff. Now, if you see this on the job advert, but don't mention this in your CV, that is self-sabotage. Go and Google what a type 1A is and add it on your CV. Like, I've self-studied about variations. I know what a type 1A and B is. I know what a type 2 is. You have to, at least even just the description of it, just the definition of it. You don't need to have worked with it specifically, but they want you to be aware of it, know which guideline it comes from. The EMA's variation guideline is what SAHPRA really relies on the most. So go download it and read up on it so that during your interview, you're not clueless. Okay, I'm going to jump all the way to the next highlighted one, conduct evidence-informed practice. And again, this means if it's evidence-based, it is written down and mastered. It's going to be in a journal article, it's going to be in a guideline, in a regulation, it's going to be somewhere. Now you have to be resourceful and figure that out and read up on it. Remember, regulatory affairs is all about reading, reading, reading. You're reading all day. You're reading guidelines, you're reading adverts, you're reading posts, not posts, but like news release, press release, you're reading updates, you're reading websites, you're just reading all the time. So that you'll know what to do. And the first thing you need to ask them here is, which guidelines would you like me to start with? Which appropriate documentation would you like me to start with? Or according to you, what are the top 3? And you can ask them, by the way, remember at the end of the interview, they always ask you, do you have any questions for us? The answer is always yes. So you can say, in preparation for this post, which top 3 guidelines or regulations would you like me to start reading up on? Or would you like me to brush up on? Boom. You're showing intent. You're showing confidence. You're showing readiness. Like, I am ready to go. When are we starting? So, yeah, but these are just a few tips. I'm not going to go into depth like I would with a client, but I hope these little nuggets have already assisted you somewhat. And yeah, you're free to book with us, guys. info@farmers.co.za, and we shall hook you up. I hope this was helpful. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next one. I think a little training series is going to become my new thing because I love doing this kind of stuff. So let me know what you'd like to see next, and we'll film a video just for you. Bye, guys.